Early in 1916, a year before the U.S. entered World War I, a handful of valiant Americans banded together as the first Escadrille Americaine, which was later renamed the Lafayette Escadrille when the Germans objected to the neutral Americans fighting for the French. Be it for fame, adventure, or patriotism, they stepped forward to meet the common enemy long before their nation realized the true extent of the threat to world freedom. These boys came from various walks of life, from various educational backgrounds, and various abilities and non-abilities to fly. They were molded into flyers, into pursuit fighter pilots by a French training system that merely walked them through the basics on the ground and then put them alone in airplanes to solo and teach themselves to fly. By the time the U.S. entered the war and created its own pilots by picking and training what it considered the best of the best, these first Eagles were already aces with real experience and proven worth. Yet they would not initially be allowed to fly with the U.S. Air Service because some were colorblind, some had poor eyesight, many were not college graduated, and one was flying with only one arm. A whole host of deficiencies in the eyes of the flyers back in the States. But these boys had guts. They had what it takes to fly through anti-aircraft shrapnel, to fly knowing their life expectancy was measured in days, to fly while developing aerial fighting tactics by trial and error, often very costly error. They flew with technology that was barely in its second decade, planes held together with baling wire, glue, and more often than not, just a prayer. How did they cope? How did these survivors pass along the lessons learned? What follows is a conversation in the squadron's bar between a newly minted pilot and an old hand who's been there since the first.
Mon Ami, you are back to the land of the living. The last I saw of you, you had a Hun on your tail pouring lead into you.
I'm only here because my wings stayed on and I outran him. Harold and Walter...
They're fine, but Campbell got it good this morning. Well, help me. Start drinking all over again. This time, to your health.
Well...
Let me guess, you hopped out, thought you'd kiss God's green earth and get on with it? I'll wager you even forgot you'd made your first victory. But your stomach vetoed all that, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, take some of that. Drink it right down. I'll explain. It's bracing. Every fighting man knows paralyzing fear. Some men know fear all the time. They are afraid of being afraid. Some know fear in the crisis. Others don't feel it till after the danger has passed. But no matter when it comes, it is imperative to have something to lift you out of yourself.
My hands are still shaking, and I can still hear the shriek of torn wing cloth. What's gonna make that disappear?
Strong drink, and plenty of it. We're not a pack of drunkards here. We use it only in moderation. But a chap who lets liquor interfere with his flying more than once won't last long. He'd be as much a menace as a pair of German machine guns. Otherwise, Captain Taino over there, he does as much elbow bending as any of us. You are limited only by your capacity and your ability to pay.
Drinking won't stop the next day from coming. When I saw holes opening up in my wing as bullets hit my plane for the first time, I was petrified. Sure, I've heard the stories. I know my bunk is barely cold from the poor sod I'm replacing. I can fly, I can shoot. I can maneuver without tearing my wings off or stalling and spinning to death. But nobody got it through my thick head. I'd be there all alone, with no time to think. Christ, I couldn't even remember to change my gun's cartridges when they were empty. I just wanted to get away. I was shaken to the core. When my wheel set down, my knees refused to support me. They gave way. My mechanic thought I'd been shot. Oh, my eyes strained at anything familiar that would prove I'd made it back. There was a complete vacuum where my stomach ought to be, and my mouth was full of my heart or something.
There you have it. Mon Ami. But it wasn't your time. Until then, make the most of every moment. You're young, so Live. Have another slug.
How the hell will more alcohol put things right?
Oh, the boys with the most battles are the same ones with a lot of hours at the bar. Those who chose to shun the fatal curse of drink is far from impressive. They have too much time to think. They let their imaginations run riot. When they attempt to analyze the situation with a clear head, they come to figure their chances of coming through as exceedingly slim. They hang back, gradually becoming useless to their comrades.
Well, maybe my hands will soon stop shaking. How the hell am I going to get back into that plane tomorrow?
Whether a man gets visibly scarred or not, it leaves an invisible scar. He begins flinching before he knows it. If he hasn't a sedative, a pilot is likely to get so screwy that he goes wild and begs for danger like dope, and comes completely unstuck. Mon Ami, now you're an official member of the Club of Should Be Dead. Initiation passed, time to celebrate. Moments, this is how we've gotten through this mess till now. You live in the moment. One moment you're with your comrades, spitting in the eye of tomorrow, and next you're hauling your kite around the sky, trying to shoot the bastard that just shot your latest best friend. A drink, for God's sake.
What of the two that took to Paris last week? Have you heard any news?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say the one with the most fight has left us, done in by the cold, probably more than anything. But old whiskey is faring much better.
Good old whiskey. God, I miss him right now.
I miss Paris even more. I was here from the beginning when the French set up a flying squadron of Americans. 8 of us flew practice in French Blériots, and many evenings we were driven to Paris to, what we saw. We were the Escadrille Americaine, and no Parisian woman was safe. There were times we'd say, gosh, I gotta get back to the front for a rest. But late time ended and we had to fly sorties.
Well, back home we heard the stories, and we came. Say, isn't that when old whiskey came on board?
Yeah, about so. I reckon all that propaganda worked, because here you all are. Only you find out you're really just trying to save yourself and friends you would never meet in any other circumstances, and then try to avenge their deaths.
Bring us some cognac. My mentor is not helping my recovery.
You've got me there. I forget myself because it's been a long 2 years. Few of us have made it to this Christmas. 38 of us have served here since 1914. They say the good die young, but the bad live on to be redeemed. I guess I've got a lot of redeeming to do.
Well, whiskey's got no redeeming to do. I hardly knew him, but I never made a friend so fast.
You made one of the worst first landings by a replacement this airfield has ever seen. And old whiskey runs up to you and practically pins you to the kite. That surely made a lasting impression. Rockwell almost broke his britches laughing.
No scars, no broken bones, just a little bit of indignity.
Rockwell went down on the dawn patrol. I saw him glide right to a field and put it down without flipping over. He crawled out just as the Germans leveled out and strafed him on the ground. You know what he'd be saying right now? He'd be saying, we ought to pinch a ride into Paris and spring old whiskey. My next prescription would be a Lafayette cocktail, equal parts cognac and champagne. You do have a bar tab set up, old man, huh? Do you, huh?
Nerves are being sedated. I guess it's time to live the moment responsibly. Well, I'm not sure I buy it when it's your time stuff. Seems to me we must make our own luck with skill.
Well, take Jim Hall sitting over there. He was just back from his first injury, and his plane was rather run out. On his last mission, the 4 of us were to rendezvous. He hadn't had much experience. I gave him strict orders to stay close to us. Oh, that old engine of his delayed his takeoff by 10 minutes. We had no idea what happened to him, so we proceeded. By the time we got there, no sign of us. He was too keen to get into it and decided to come looking for us. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, he spies 4 ships in tight formation way over the German lines, with one plane, well above them. So he made straight to join us. Flying right up inside the 4 planes, he waggled his wings to say hi. Then he noticed the other plane's wings were straight, no V, black crosses painted on the fuselage. Something was wrong. As for the Germans, they made quick work of Jim's plane. He tried every maneuver he knew to slip away from them, but there wasn't a chance. Finally, besides 100 slugs into his wings, 3 bullets hit him, paralyzing his entire left side. Unconscious, he fell forward on his stick and he plunged towards Earth. The German ships couldn't keep up and resumed their patrols, because satisfied another Frenchman had died. Turns out about 500 feet from the ground, Jimmy shut off the motor, hauled back on the stick, and fainted again. The plane swooped out of the dive and wafted to the bottom of the trench as gently as a falling leaf. Jimmy woke up on a stretcher, being carried to a first aid station. Once he realized he was in the French trenches, everything drained away but pure joy. No thought of yesterday or tomorrow to spoil it. Now, that's being in the moment.
Now that's luck. It's just all catch as catch can.
Don't go thinking too hard now. Let Providence decide the outcomes.
Look, I know you've been through all of this already. But it's hard not to think of those gone west and what's to come of us tomorrow.
Well, you've got a choice. You can either go and cry like a baby, or you can join the living and do what you thought you would when you got into all this mess.
You sure know how to make a fellow eat his applesauce and like it, don't you?
It's all I know. I'm all in. This is the first day in 3 weeks that we haven't flown from dawn till dusk. This rain has to keep us down tomorrow. So, are you off to Paris to spring old whiskey?
No, I guess he's where they'll take the best care of him. An almost full-grown lion needs better care than we can give him here. But the escadrille never had a perfect mascot.
By the way, McConnell left his heavy blanket and the usual cache of francs for a proper celebration. We're all to get right drunk and wish him well on his next journey. There's always the feeling our departed are here with us during those sessions, to be sure we do it right, too. Tomorrow night's the night.
I'm awfully glad to get that blanket, but not this way. You know, just 2 weeks ago, it was so cold, I got old whiskey in my cot to warm my legs. But by morning, he'd be up around my head, and I'd wake up with a mouthful of the most evil-tasting lion fur. He wasn't too careful about bathing or personal hygiene, and he had really bad breath. Here's to old whiskey!
And here's to us, the Lafayette Escadrille, living the moment and dying for comrades and causes greater than any of us. Getty, old man, our favorite drinking song, Toot Sweet.
We beneath the sounding rafter, and the walls around us are bare, as they echo the sounds of laughter. It seems that the dead are all here. So stand by your glasses steady. This world hold dear. The good men have all gone before us, and only the dull left behind. So stand by your glasses steady. This world is a world of lies. There's a toast to the dead already, and hurrah for the next man to die. We loop in the purple twilight, we spin in the silvery dawn. There's a trail